Hello, I am really excited today to have a conversation with Asim Bawani, the founder of an agency called Codup. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Well, today is a partnership announcement video. We couldn't be more excited to work with Codup. We love your focus on agentic commerce, on complex use cases, primarily around B2B. Would love for you to introduce your agency, what you guys special in, and let's get into it.
Absolutely. So we have been in business now for over 14 years. And then for over 10 of those years, we have been doing B2B. Our thing has always been complex stuff. And I say stuff, of course, because over time you find your thing. And so over time, our thing has become commerce, and then within commerce, more B2B commerce. The reason I focus on the word complex is usually, many agencies in agency land tend to do, build, and they also tend to have services around growth. We're a little bit different in the sense that we focus only on the build part, and so we go deep in that. And so that's where our strength is. That's why we're able to go really deep into platforms like Shopware and get the most out of them and really push them to the limits. And so that's, again, a very, very high level of kind of what we're about.
So Asim, you obviously have more than a dozen years of delivering world-class e-commerce for merchants and distributors. You've worked with many different commerce platforms. You've probably looked around the market. What was it about Shopware that was worth the investment of time and energy and getting a return on the investment? What is it about Shopware that was attractive?
Yeah, absolutely. There were actually several things. We've been looking for a platform that checked multiple boxes, and we were struggling to find one, to be very honest. And Shopware and ultimately checked all of them. So we wanted to, like I said, we grew up in that open source world, and so we're accustomed to being able to build whatever our merchants need. And so we've been struggling to get that in some of our other partnerships. And so Shopware checks that box first and foremost. But then that's where it starts. We wanted to work with a partner who had all of the same values that we did, who was customer centric, and who took that long-term view, A, to the partnership, and also B, with the customer relationship, where you're looking for a mutual win-win. Then there's Shopware is a growing ecosystem rather than a shrinking one. That's, I think, very important for us as a partner, and also for the customer, because of course it's an investment for them as well. I think that the most important thing for us, Jason, was the way your team engages and what you bring to the table. And so it's hard to get a partnership. And I've now started to do these partnerships for a couple of years at least. And it's hard to find partnerships where both parties come to the table with the same enthusiasm, with the same values, with the same commitment to success, not just to our success, but to the customer success as well. And so that was ultimately the thing that was missing in many other candidates that we were reviewing. And so all of those things combined is what, where we eventually landed with, okay, it's open source, the product's great, it's growing, and the people are great. And so all that is the ingredients with which we can then make something truly valuable for the customer, for ourselves, for you guys, for the ecosystem at large.
Fantastic. Well, I think it'd also be really helpful to talk a little bit about the other platforms you've supported and and some example customers that you serve, because I think that'll lend itself nicely to your ICP and where you focus. So can you speak a little bit about some of your history in e-com?
Absolutely. So in terms of platforms, we worked on, we actually grew up in the open source world with Magento 1 and WooCommerce. Those were the two platforms we sort of grew up in. And so, that sort of spoils you as an engineering organization. That sort of spoils you because you can do whatever you want to do and you can build whatever you want to build. Of course, that's not always a good idea, but you at least get spoiled that you can get whatever you want. But then, of course, we then started to work on platforms like BigCommerce and Shopify, and both of them are, of course, great platforms. But the thing to understand, at least for us, and we try and help our customers understand, is that there's no single platform that's going to do it all. There's no single platform that's the best. The platform is going to be best for you. It's not going to be best, period. Right. And so that's what we really focus on And so, we've got customers like, in the field, we've got customers like Steelcase, we've got customers like Altera Central, we've got customers like GeoShield. These are manufacturers, distributors, sometimes mid-market, sometimes small, and sometimes large enterprises like Steelcases as well, who we've helped in this manner on different platforms. And so, and again, we've been in the business long enough, won lots of awards, grown tremendously, especially post-COVID. I like to boast a little bit in terms of we were the team that initially built out all of the B2B capability on WooCommerce. This was back in 2016, 17. We weren't good at marketing it, but we built out the product. It's a very good product, still very comprehensive. And now we've done that in Shopify and BigCommerce, and now hopefully we want to bring all of that experience and expertise to Shopware.
I love it. Well, one of the things that attracted us about working with you guys is your expertise in complex commerce and really understanding the strengths and weaknesses of other players in the industry. I think you said it beautifully. The words I use is water usually finds its level. It's not about what the quote unquote best platform is. It's about the best platform for your use case and for your business. So that's what we really were attracted to you guys, is because you guys have you get to be Switzerland and you get to recommend what is the right platform for the merchant, which is really highly attractive.
Yes. And yeah, I think that is truly the only way to be customer centric, because otherwise you got to be loyal to the customer. And, I say this with the greatest respect, Jason, not the platform, because by doing so, you will ultimately serve the platform. And so as long as you're going to do right by the customer, I think what you said as well, water will find its level and things will work out as long as you're going to deliver value.
Yeah. And if you take a long-term view on it, as a platform like Shopware, we really want the customers that can be happy, that will renew and will continue to use our services. That's what we really want. And so the empty calories of trying to win merchants that you are not the best fit for, long-term, you pay that tax.
Doesn't scale.
Yeah.
You pay it, and whoever's involved, they pay it too.
Exactly. And so again, we'd rather lose up front than win deals we're going to lose later. And so that's, again, the Codup's philosophy in our first call. Sim, that was the conversation we had.
Absolutely. And I fully live by it.
Yep. So now let's talk a little bit about your ICP. What is your ideal customer profile? There's a lot of agencies, as you know, 400 or 500 of them in North America. How do you guys stand out? Is it by focus on industries?
So I'll be very honest. Yes, we're starting to focus on industries, and that's new. Our focus on specific verticals is a new thing. So last year we focused and drilled down very deep into lighting, and I am happy to say that we made a dent. We made some specific solutions specifically in and around the lighting industry, and now we're gonna go and do the same for HVAC, for electrical distribution, for PHCP and building materials. What we have more history and proof point on is building around those complex use cases and of course, the choice of these four verticals comes out of our history, out of where we've already won in the past, out of the kind of use cases that we've already delivered on over and over and over, and where we know that when we go into the room, we already know what we're talking about. We already have something valuable to provide, even if we don't end up selling anything. Even if it's just a good fake advice that we hand over to the customer, and they may or may not use us. And so that can only work in industries and verticals where you already have some proof and history and wins and delivery. And so we verticalized that way. We, in terms of ICP and size, we work with a somewhat broad band. So, we usually start working with a brand, a B2B merchant, broadly speaking, when they cross 20 million annually, and we go all the way up to 500 million, which is a large brand. And so that's what sort of drew us towards Shopware, because it's a large band. And so the same tools are not going to be a good fit for someone who's going to be in a specific vertical. Like lighting, for example, is very complex in how they sell. But even within lighting, a brand that does 25 million and a brand that does 250 million, their problems, their use cases, their day-to-day is just night and day, even though they may be competing in the marketplace for the same wallet share. And so that's where our partnership with Shopware comes in, because Shopware allows us to be that agnostic, that sweeten in the mix, and really truly, put the right tool on the table and say, look, for you, Shopware is the thing that's going to help you grow, and Shopware is going to be your platform for not just 2 years, but 5 years, 10 years, and perhaps more. So that's, I think I sort of jumped the gun a little bit there, but that's how we came to you guys.
You stole my next question, but that's okay. So let's go deeper on B2B, because one of the things that, again, we love about Codup is your expertise around the ERP and the integration to the ERP to make sure you can maximize the value of the commerce system. So in simple terms, you've got the ERP, which is the system of record, but you need the commerce platform to be your system of differentiation and your system of experimentation. How do you view that world as it relates to the criticality of the ERP?
Very, very good question. So the ERP is something that, oftentimes in agency land is viewed as this complex thing that you don't want to touch, because there's monsters in there and there's skeletons buried under there. And then oftentimes merchants also treat it like that, because, they're going to guard it. They're going to, of course, and for good reason, because there's a whole lot of history and operations and fragility there. But really, the way I see it, and I will extend that just a little bit, I see B2B e-commerce as 3 things, not 2. I think B2B e-commerce, any complete strategy, a strategy is incomplete without 3 systems: an ERP at the backbone, and a CRM, and an e-commerce platform at the front. I believe that without these 3, a B2B e-commerce stack is incomplete. And because your ERP is indeed the system of record for your inventory, for your orders, for your customer data, a whole lot of that data, but that's not where it's being actioned. That's not the interface layer with your customers. Those 2 things are. And so the data model is really where the win is, that if you have the data model right in the ERP, that's the first thing you got to do. And if you are able to do it right, and a partner like us can help you do that, then your work downstream at the Shopware level, or the e-commerce layer, or the CRM layer, simply becomes that much more simplified, because that data model is going to drive so many technical decisions, and the simplicity in so many of those technical decisions, and your modeling, your experimentation, the speed of that experimentation, your pricing experiments, all those things which get so much faster, because the model got simpler, the model got more streamlined, because of which the integration got more streamlined, because of which your experimentation got faster, because your time to market got faster. Everything is faster if the data model is right. And so it starts in the ERP, but then it really manifests itself the most in the e-commerce platform, and then also in the CRP.
Fantastic. Well, for those who want to get in touch and learn more about Codup and your services, what's the best way to do it?
Just say hello at codup.co.
Ooh, I like that. Very nice. Well, we're thrilled to be partners with you guys. We're thrilled to be helping the right types of merchants, and thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate your partnership.